We're back out at the range. Got our nice little river there. And I just wanted to show off an old build I did a year or two ago. Um, I had this concept that didn't really end up happening on this gun, but it still ended up being a really cool gun. So this is a Hotson Edge. Basically, you can get these for $50 from Hotson.com. The cheapest brake barrel out there. The cool thing is that you can get them in 25 cal, which is what this is. So I bought two. I had one in 22, one in 25. I souped up the 22 one and sold it. Made it a pretty decent gun. Made a couple $100 off of it. It went really well. The guy loves it. And then I was left with this thing, and I'm like, well, what can I do? So I went in. I got rid of the mainspring in there, and I actually swapped in a Crossman nitro piston, which is, in my opinion, one of the better gas rams on the market. So that's in there. I also completely redid the trigger because how this one works is that the trigger housing is welded on there. So I cut that off and put all my own trigger components in there, polished it, deburred it, timed it, put my favorite springs in there. It's a really great trigger. It's also used to have a nice custom fabricated safety on there, which my buddy broke, because of course he did. The stock was originally black, spray painted it, and kind of this cool looking camo. I enjoy it. It's not nice or anything, but it looks good. No, it doesn't. But then the actual finish on the gun itself, I'm actually really happy with this. I did 2 layers of paint, or did 2 different types of spray paint. I did like a charcoal gray and then a chrome, and they came out with this really nice texturing that just lets a lot of light back at you, but then it still looks pretty matte. I enjoy it. Came out pretty well. It's held up pretty nicely. It looks much better than the stock does. Then, what I was originally doing on this gun is back here on the end cap. And the reason this is such a mess, you can see in here, that's threaded. And I had a set screw that you could turn in and out with an Allen key to essentially put more or less preload on the gun. My idea was to have a preload adjustable, essentially a tunable air rifle, brake barrel, much in the same way how you can just turn a little set screw on a PCP to adjust the hammer spring tension. That scaled up and applied to a gas ram. Unfortunately, ran into a lot of setbacks. Initially, I was just going to have a knob, but the geometry of the stock didn't allow for that, as well as the fact that it's just too hard to turn the knob. There's too much pressure on it. So then I switched to the Allen, and then just this really crappy steel piece I had laying around. The threading just doesn't hold up under that amount of stress. So, and it's also not really the right size. This is from a Crossman Fire, and that's a 1-inch tube gun. This is a 25 millimeter tube gun, so it's a step up. Or no, a 26 millimeter tube gun. So it's a little bit too big. So what I'm eventually going to end up doing with it is, once I have access to a lathe, and I'm pretty decent at a lathe, which is actually going to be pretty soon, going to completely make my own piece that actually fits flush in there and has really, really heavy duty threading, and figure out a good way for adjustments and hopefully pick this back up because I really haven't touched it in a long time. So testing today, I've got some H&N Grizzlies. These are 31 grain slugs. They're not going to be good fun to shoot at all. They're going to be freaking hilarious. Okay, so we're loaded up. I didn't want to record that because it was just going to be terrible. So let's just do a little offhand shot. Yeah, that actually was pretty good, honestly. Extremely slow travel time. That was like probably 300 feet per second. Recoil wasn't bad. It wasn't loud. I don't think there was much back pressure on the gun. That was pretty fun. This gun's just a lot of fun to shoot. Even though it's a piece of junk, I think I did pretty well with it. Yeah, if you are looking for somebody who wants to do a project like this, just hit me up in the comments and I can do whatever kind of brake barrel you want. I can take your gun, swap the piston out, do whatever you want with it, or I can just make up something completely new. If you want something like this, just ask and I'll make one for you for a few $100. Yeah, thanks for watching, guys.